What's up, ladies? This episode is brought to you by Vitamix. Who does not want to save time in the kitchen? You can also create healthier meals for your family and come up with really creative new ways to add in powerful greens and superfoods into your diet. If you're interested in checking it out, go to ewchannel.com/Vitamix, and you also get free shipping. So check it out. If you'd like to check out the show page for this particular episode that has everything we talk about, just go to ewchannel.com/4.
Welcome to the Empowered Women's Channel podcast, the home for vibrant living. Our goal every session is to inspire you with new and interesting ideas. Join us and let's change the planet together. So are you ready, Kate?
I'm ready, Bo.
Let's go! Hi guys, welcome back to another podcast for the empoweredwomenschannel.com. We've been thinking that we haven't actually introduced ourselves that much for the podcast. So today I thought it might be a good idea if I actually introduced who I was.
That would be good.
Yeah. So my name is Bo Wong, and I actually have my own blog, which is myorganiclife.info.
And Kate? I am Kate Stellman, and I have miraclenana.net as well as extremehealthradio.com.
And I also had a thought today of, we should really talk about, I know in episode 1 we introduced, kind of why we were doing this, but I just want to touch on that again of what our actual goal is. We're not just sitting here rambling, well, we are kind of sitting here rambling, but there is a point to it. And, we have a website and we've got a few things going on, and like one of our main goals is to empower you to empower others in the topics that we talk about, so we can all come together on a more conscious level and be aware of our roles as mothers of this earth, because I think it's really important, especially with everything that's going on in our environment these days, don't you think?
I really do. And, there's never been probably as crucial of a time before as women kind of rising to probably regain a bit of their roots and where they came from.
Yeah.
And that's on so many levels.
Yeah.
So many levels. And to really band together and see some changes start to happen, because the world as we know it isn't the world it used to be.
Exactly.
There's a lot of new stuff, new shifts, new, unfortunate health problems and things like that. Our Mother Earth is obviously going down the tubes pretty fast. We just need to really probably join forces in becoming aware of what we can do to not only return love to ourselves, but to Mother Earth and this beautiful planet that God's given us.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Yeah. And, podcasting is just such a great way to get that message out there, because, we have moved forward and there are just so many great technologies out there now that we can connect on so many levels with so many people around the world.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes we complain about technology and get upset that it doesn't work right, or get frustrated by the EMF waves and everything that's going through us. But when it's all said and done, if we protect ourselves properly and we use it for what it's intended, it's an amazing tool.
Definitely.
I mean, we're talking to people all over the world, different time zones.
Yeah.
I mean, we can like my husband always says through Extreme Health Radio's podcast, you can travel through the
ether.
The ether, and meet up with somebody in South Africa, and you could be in Vermont. I mean, it's pretty amazing, this time and space that we exist in. It's obviously not for by accident.
Yeah, so we're using it in a positive way as much as we can.
Right.
And today, let's talk about our topic.
Let's get juicy.
And I mean juice.
Let's talk about juice, Bo.
Yeah, well, we've both been on our own journeys with juices. And I'll let you start with yours first.
Sure, absolutely. So, it was probably about 7-8 years ago, when I was probably first married to Justin, and he really got into health. He read a book called, what was it called? Why am I blanking? By Harvey Diamond. Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
I'm totally blanking. Anyway.
We can put a link to it.
Yeah,
anyway.
We'll put a link to it. It's about food combining and things like that. And at that point, he kind of had a wake-up call to health and ways that he could be healthier. And part of that protocol was adding in juices daily. And so we went out and bought this probably $300 juicer. And at the time I'm like, oh brother, like one more appliance, that seems crazy. You know, we bought a dehydrator, we bought like, you know, all these things, and I'm like, okay. I was fully into like the Italian, you know, pastas, pizzas. Like, why would we need a dehydrator? Why would you need a juicer? Yeah. But we went out and bought this really expensive juicer, and I thought, okay, well, if that makes him happy, you know, we'll do it. So he started making juices, and as you know, it becomes kind of a labor of love. I mean, it's not super easy to do, but he would mention like, hey, Kate, you want to make a juice? I was like, no, thanks. And he'd be like, do you want to drink a juice? No, thanks. I just had no interest in it at all. And I bet that a good year went by, and I saw how committed he was to it, and it started to pique my interest.
Really? Like, a whole year?
Probably about a year. And then, I mean, he was always like, why don't you want to try it? And I was like, it just doesn't sound good. Or I'd probably have a little sip here and there, and it would bloat me out. And I thought, you know, it's too much fiber. Little did I know that it's actually juicing the fiber out. But what we think, you know, I had no idea how it all worked. So finally one day, I don't know, I can't remember a specific time or day, but something just kind of changed in me. And I thought, sure, why the heck not? I'll try a juice. And so we were in the kitchen together, and we made one together. And there was something very powerful about creating a food. Like having the food, obviously, that was already meant to, you know, it was already created, but actually creating something that was fresh and organic and lovely. Not like you just threw it in the oven and it just crisped and baked. And it felt like you were drinking live enzymes. And I remember Justin starting out like, hey, let's put a bunch of carrots, apple, you know, made it sweet enough for me to kind of rope me in. Yeah. I think. And, you know, it did. And slowly, it's amazing how my taste buds, it took probably a good year for me to really cut down on the sweets, the sweet vegetables and fruits I was putting in there, and added a bunch more greens. But we've talked in person and on some other podcasts about how your taste buds really do change.
They do.
And you start craving more greens and more like more lemon.
Yeah, the citrus
and a lot
fruits.
less of the sugar.
Yeah.
And now obviously it's been years, and I rarely go a day without making a juice, and I absolutely love it. So when did your love of juice, your juice affair start?
My juice affair, wow. Well, mine started actually because I think I mentioned or I will mention that I suffered from migraines. I think I did mention that.
I think you did,
on episode 1. And I actually changed my diet when that happened as well. And I started off doing an alkaline diet. So I actually started off doing green smoothies and adding in lots of super powders.
Like all day long? You just
I just had one every okay. I had a diet of just living an alkaline lifestyle, but
wow.
It didn't feel right for me after a while.
Because that is quite popular for people.
Yeah, it is. Okay. And, you know, we're all different. So different food lifestyles suit different people.
Sure.
But I was learning to listen to my body more. And I really miss certain foods that you couldn't eat on that. Anyway, the green smoothies, the more I looked into them, and, you know, I love cooking in the kitchen. So I was trying out all different flavors. And then I came across juicing. And I was like you. I started off with really sweet ones. So I'd add in lots of apple, loads of pears, you know, all the fruits, basically.
Like pineapple.
Yeah. But I'd also have the spinach, you know, I'd have lots of kale and ginger and the rest of it.
And these were smoothies? Blended?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We like whacked them in the Vitamix?
I didn't have a Vitamix at the time, but yeah.
You threw them in a blender?
I did. And that's always what I tell people to start off with, actually, is smoothies, because they're so much easier to make.
Right.
And then I got into juicing after that.
Why was that the next step for you? Like,
I don't really know. I think I just read a couple of books on it, and it just started popping up everywhere. You know, do you
think there was some benefit for you for like taking, because obviously when you're blending a smoothie, you're still getting the fiber.
You are. And
so were you having a problem with like bloating or anything?
No, I don't think I was. Although I'm not. Now that I look back at it, I think actually, yes, I was.
Possibly, yeah.
You know, because I feel so much different now. But back then when I was doing it, it wasn't any different to me than eating a bowl of cereal, which used to bloat me anyway.
Sure, me too.
So for me, it didn't matter.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You could eat anything and you had the same reaction. Same here.
Yeah, I still felt bloated.
Right.
So, I just knew that all the super greens and everything that I was putting in it was making, you know, my skin better. I was starting to feel a bit better. I was dropping a bit of weight. And then I read about juicing and why that was good. And I thought, why not? You know, why not give this a go? And I did a lot of research into it. And I had some other friends that were juicing. And I invested in, a pretty good juicer, same as yourself, 150 pounds, which is about, 300.
About 300
yeah, exactly. A centrifugal juicer. And from there, it just spiraled. until just recently I've done a 21-day juice cleanse.
Let's talk about that. I've done 3, 5, and a 10-day, but I've never attempted a 21-day. Well, it sounds intriguing.
Yeah, and it's not like I just jumped into it. Like, I've been juicing, and, you know, I'm the same as you. Like, every morning when I wake up, the first thing I crave is a green juice. It's really bizarre. I look forward to it.
I am with you.
Every single morning.
I hear you.
Yeah, and I put less sweet stuff in it. I love loads of ginger. I love loads of lime and lemons, and my taste buds have really changed, you know, a lot. So, yeah, I've done a 8-day, what I called a liquid cleanse before, where I just did juicing and smoothies.
Yeah, I've similar to
yeah,
that.
Yeah, and I did that after I quit my job because I thought that was a really good thing for me to release a lot of things, and it was just like I had the time because I was at home, so I just thought, you know, if I was low on energy or whatever, I was at home and it'd be easier to do. But actually,
because it does take a lot of time.
It does, yeah. But
it's doable.
Yeah. So I embarked on my 21 juice cleanse without even really thinking it was going to be 21 days.
Yeah.
So I had dinner with some friends, and they all said that they saw the Joe Cross documentary.
Oh, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead.
Yeah.
Right.
And so these guys, you know, they were asking me about it, and they were like, "Oh, have you seen this?" And I was thinking, I kind of mentioned it maybe to you a year before, but I won't say that. I'll just be excited.
Oh, I know, right?
Because, you know, I really want to encourage people to juice.
But they weren't ripe for picking at the time.
No, and they kind of just said, I wouldn't mind doing a juice cleanse. And I jumped all over that. I was like, really? Okay, well, I'll do one with you guys.
I'm on board. Absolutely.
Let's do one.
Anything to get your friends and family excited.
Yeah, and I think they couldn't go back from after saying that because they
were committed.
Yeah, they were.
I bet. A little accountability over there. Good for you.
Yeah, and one of my friends, he actually had started doing green smoothies every morning, so I knew it was going to be a little bit easier. But, you know, the week building up to it, or maybe even the 2 weeks building up to it, I was having like 2 juices a day and a salad or steamed vegetables, or, you know, so that we kind of said, let's do a 10-day one.
Sure.
So I knew that wouldn't be too hard. And for me, I know, and from experience from them as well, the first 3 days are the hardest.
Absolutely. I can attest to that.
Yeah. And that's when a lot of emotions come out. That's when you might find you feel really ill. And that's when a lot of people give up because they're like, this can't be good for me if I'm feeling this bad.
Yeah.
But all it is all that toxicity is just coming out of your system, and it's all being kicked up, and your body's just like, wow, you're giving me a break from not eating.
It's kind of surprising.
Yeah.
I think what's surprising, like you're right, the emotional aspect of it, because I remember, I think it was the second juice fast I attempted, and it was only going to be 5 days. And I remember day 2, like day 1, you're like, I feel empowered.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting clean.
And you're like,
no
this
big
is
deal.
fine.
I don't mind cleaning the juicer 3 times a day,
Yeah.
which is a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But I remember day 2, I was in the kitchen preparing vegetables to juice, and I looked over and there was an avocado. And I remember I just started crying. I looked at the avocado and I thought, well, I just want to eat an avocado. And I thought, oh my gosh, like, what is this emotional side of me coming out over an avocado?
Yeah.
And it wasn't about the avocado, but I had to take that time to really go inside and go, what is the issue? Why am I emotional?
Yeah.
What is coming out of me?
Yeah.
Like, it surprised me.
It is.
Caught me off guard.
Yeah, people can be angry, they can be sad. You know, you
Absolutely.
can have all sorts of emotions that do come out of you, underconfident, like everything. And for me, I know that like we actually, what we were using, it was like there was a whole house of us that were juicing, so that made it easier.
That is amazing.
Because we didn't have a centrifugal juicer, we had a masticating one, which actually takes 10 times longer because that's cold press and it's slow, but it doesn't destroy as many enzymes.
Absolutely.
And it also gets more juice out.
And aren't you able to actually make it for like the whole week if you wanted, and put it in lids and put it in the freezer? Have you heard that?
I think you need a machine to that. I'm not actually sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it does last a long time.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
Whereas
But
the other juices, you juice them, and if you're not drinking them right away,
exactly.
the enzymes kind of
and
die pretty quick.
yeah, and you
right?
can see that because if you just leave them out on the bench, they go brown and they
Right.
don't taste great.
Right.
You can taste that they've gone off. So yeah, and you know, so yeah, I think the first 3 days were pretty hard, and I think I worked 10 hours for those 3 days. And I think the biggest question I always get asked is, you know, do you have lack of energy when you're juicing for that long? And the answer to that is no way. If anything, I had more energy because, again, my digestive system was like free to clean up and repair and do whatever it wanted. I would feel a little low sometimes, but the minute I had that juice, I would just be lifted back up for a couple of hours. You know, and for me, the biggest thing, I mean, because I've done a few mini juice cleanses before, the idea of not eating, I think that's what most people struggle with.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that, because I know that was the biggest thing for me in my 3 cleanses I've done, is you miss that. Do you think it's emotional?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, because obviously I miss that chewing sensation.
Yeah.
And you get so used to just going in the kitchen and just taking for granted that you can shove something in your mouth and not think about it, even if it's healthy.
Yeah.
You get that sensation of chewing and feeling satisfied.
Yeah.
What do you think that? You think it's more emotional that we feel
I think
connected
it
to
is.
the chewing? And
Yeah, I think it is as well. And what I used to notice when I used to have a TV, you know, many, many moons ago.
Many moons. You sound like you're telling a story to your great-grandchildren. Many moons ago.
Yeah. You know, I would sit there and I'd have a big bowl of popcorn.
Yeah.
Without even thinking about the popcorn I was eating.
Absolutely.
It was like, and I know a lot of people who do this at the movies as well. You know, you go there, you sit there, you have popcorn, and you just shovel it in your mouth, not even consciously aware of.
You're just zoned out.
Exactly. And then you come out and you're like, man, I'm full.
Absolutely.
And you don't realize you've devoured this entire bag
of GMO popped popcorn.
Yeah, exactly.
With hormone butter and horrible salt. But yes,
you know, but I think the actual, putting food into your mouth, that is a big thing that a lot of people struggle with. And I did for quite a while, you know, when I did little cleanses.
Do you think I just thought about this. Do you think it's a comfort thing? Like when you're a baby and you want to have your thumb in your mouth or something, it's just like something that's so pacifying.
Yeah.
That we do it without even thinking about it.
Yeah, and you've got to think as well, like, you know, when we have a birthday, what do?
We eat cake.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, when we have a celebration of any kind, what do? We have a cake. When we're sad, you know, a lot of people turn to
ice cream, drown their sorrows in bonbons.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
chocolate.
It's a social thing too. When you go out with your friends, what do? You have food.
You know, I found that really interesting during my first cleanse. I think that was part of the sadness, as I thought, you know, people would call me up during those 10 days and be like, do you want to go, you know, let's meet here. And I was like, I can't. And it became negative because I told people I couldn't do things. I can't do things. I can't eat. I can't this. I focused on the negative things rather than I'm enjoying this cleansing of my body. I don't think I went into it with the right emotional state.
Yeah.
I might have prepared that I wasn't going to be eating food.
Yeah.
But to have to say no to things, or now I do it so much different. I realize that they don't have to be separated. They can coincide. But I got a bit upset that I couldn't do the things to meet people, everything involved around eating and drinking.
Yeah. And that's a really important point to bring up because, you know, when I went into what was going to be a 10-day cleanse, I went into it thinking, okay, I'm going to clear my diary for that week and I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to relax. I'm going to pamper myself. Those 21 days were anything but that. And I was so glad.
The best of intentions.
Yeah.
Right.
They were the busiest days that I've probably had in a long time.
Busy.
Yeah, good busy. I was up at 5 every morning. I was, you know, I got so much done. It was ridiculous. And I was out and about, so it wasn't like I could spend 2 hours at home juicing. Right. So, you know, I had a few little hacks in place of knowing where juice bars were and, you know, kind of adding super green powders to juices and things like that. But, I had a lot of social activity going on. I met up with friends all the time. And because I didn't want it to be negative as well.
That's very different than my experience. That's great that you continued to go out. I just kind of became a recluse.
Yeah, whereas I don't know, I'd get home at 11:30 at night. I'd leave the house at like 7 or 9. So
I spoke with you on your latest.
Oh, you did?
21 day. Yeah, and I was like, why is she up at 3 a.m? Like, girl, it's the juice. I mean, that was unreal. I was thinking I would just be thrashed, but apparently what you got from it was more energy, when some people probably feel a little bit depleted and a little weak.
I think when you go for so many days, you know, it does. It gives you more energy and you really discover that I overconsume food way too much.
Right.
And it's made me rethink my association with food as well.
I came to that realization too of how much is unnecessary. How much we tax our body.
Yeah.
With meals, when you could replace it with any kind of a liquid to just alleviate your digestive system from having to work overtime. Because we just kind of shovel food in our mouths all
And it's
day.
also what we've been taught. Because I remember my grandma would always say, you know, and she grew up during times when there was war and there was famine. And she always said to me, if you don't eat, you're going to die. You know, and for me, you know, doing such a long cleanse, it proved to me that actually, I'm still here.
You are? Flesh and blood, you're still here, right
Boom.
here. You're right, though. Yeah. You're so right.
Yeah.
Well, and we've also bought into the lie, unfortunately, of eating your 3 square meals a day.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're not hungry, don't eat.
No.
Like, I mean, I'm not telling anybody what to do or making any claims, but like when I'm not hungry now, if I skip a meal, I'm all better for just going to bed and waking up feeling like refreshed instead of just bogged down because I told myself I needed to eat dinner.
Yeah.
Who needs to eat dinner if you don't feel like you need to eat dinner?
Exactly. And I think we've lost that compass inside ourselves.
Absolutely.
That tells us, actually, you're full. Because, you know, that was another thing that I've had to overcome on my health journey is, you know, when I was small, you know, we'd sit at the table and I don't know how many of you can relate to this, but I had to finish every single thing off my plate.
I was just going to bring that up. Yep. You sit there until you're done.
Yep.
You don't get to go, or you don't get dessert.
Yeah.
Which you probably weren't hungry for anyway, and they were making you finish your food. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Who can't relate to that?
Yeah. And growing up as an adult, you know, I always had a problem of being like, I knew when I was full, but the food was still there and I had to finish it all.
Right.
You know, when you sit there with your girlfriends and you just like, you're piling it in and you just eat without consciously even thinking about it. And, you know, now when I'm full, I just leave it. Like, it's okay. And that was quite a mental thing for me to get over. And the juicing has definitely helped me recognize that. And, you know, I would get home sometimes at, like I was saying, like quite late, like 11:30 at night. And I was like, I'm hungry, but I'm not going to get out the juicer because I know it's going to mean that I'm going to be up for another hour and a half juicing.
Right.
And by the time I make
and peeing all night.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a big deal.
So, you know, I'd have like a hot cup of tea,
right.
or I just wouldn't bother and I'd just go to sleep. And I'd wake up the next morning and I would be fine. I wouldn't be hungry.
Right.
I might have like maybe a 10, 20-minute spurt of hunger, but, you know, it'd pass. And that really taught me a really valuable lesson and just, in my mind, got me to really think about the food that I have been eating for so many years. It's almost like deprogramming yourself.
Absolutely. That's a great way to put that.
Yeah, from everything we've believed before, huh?
I think that's absolutely true. And I know this might sound like a crazy thing to say, but I think you can relate the clarity that comes, not only the deprogramming comes with the clarity that we gain from not bogging our minds down and our digestive. Because, you know what they say, our digestion is our second brain.
Yeah.
80% in your digestive system. It's not even in your, it's not,
it's not in your head.
It's not in your head. Imagine that. It doesn't go into your stomach up to your head to digest.
Well, it's all connected, you know.
It's all connected. And I think once people like myself start realizing that, my gosh, I felt like a whole world opened up on a spiritual level.
Yeah.
An emotional cleansing happens. Gosh, I mean, it would take me days to even really come up with a list of the ways that I feel like when I cut back on food and started taking in more liquids, especially juices, that it changed me. And
especially because I'm quite a creative person as well. You know, I'm always coming up with these zany ideas of things that I could do and make. And
you?
I know, right? So unlike me. But I think during my cleanse, I would get up like randomly. I don't know why. My body wanted to be awake at 5 a.m. and I was just going with it.
Wow.
I would get up and I would just be scrolling down just all these ideas of things I could do and, you know, for projects that I had. And I had never felt so creatively inspired.
Well, and I would get your emails that would be sent at 3 a.m. I'm like, what the heck is she doing in London at 3 a.m?
Yeah.
Hopped up on juice. Craziness.
Yeah.
No, but I agree. I mean, I think the most creative times for me as well are when I'm clean and I'm not just thinking about, because how much time do we think about the energy we spend thinking about what our next meal is?
Yes.
Or how much time we're going to have to prepare it, or what time it needs to be on the table for the family.
And now it's kind of like, what do I feel like? Oh, a banana.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the whole thing, is also debunking the whole, there being certain foods for certain meals.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we think pancakes are for breakfast.
Yeah.
Sandwich is for lunch.
Yeah.
Chicken is for dinner.
Yeah.
You know what? If you want to eat an egg, scrambled egg for dinner, and that's your thing, go for it. If you feel like eating a banana, go for it. If, you know, you want to eat your, hopefully, organic ice cream for dinner or breakfast, go for it.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's something so powerful about letting go of those labels we've kind of put on foods to become a certain food of the day item.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you there. I think, it's the deprogramming again. It's what we've been told, you know, 3 square meals a day.
Right.
And it's definitely not like that. I mean, I think I eat way smaller meals now, and I eat constantly throughout the day.
You're a grazer.
Yeah, I'm a total grazer.
No, like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's true though.
Yeah.
I remember this girl that I used to work with at the hair salon, the first salon I was at, and she would come into work smelling like garlic at like 8 a.m. I'm like, Lindsay, what the heck did you eat for breakfast? And she would make stir fry. If she'd like bamboo shoots, garlic, spinach, she would make a stir fry for breakfast. And I always used to think she was nuts. I'm like, that's not breakfast.
Yeah.
And even though she's, smelled like garlic all day, now that I'm in a place where I'm like, okay, if that's what she wanted to eat and that's what her body was needing. And, she looked good and she felt good. So she was a woman that was very in tune with her body.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first met her, it's like she had a copy of The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah.
And I thought and at the time I thought that's a little too hippie, new age, woo woo, kind of thing. But as I've read it in recent years, my gosh, like I just feel like, okay, people that are a little more open, and I wasn't there at that time. I wasn't mentally ready for that. But I don't know. The me 10 years ago and the me now is just, I'm not even the same person.
Yeah, I know. I think the me
so
10
many
years
levels.
ago, and now wouldn't recognize the me now. They'd just be like, whoa.
Right.
You've done a what juice?
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah.
And the fact that juice bars are popping up all over the world, I mean, it shows that people are becoming way more
aware of it.
Aware and open, and their cravings are turning more to, it's like we've almost sugared ourselves out.
Yeah.
That our bodies are crying out for something, and it's probably more green juice than anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
To alkalinize ourselves. I don't know did you ever hear Chris Carr talk from Crazy Sexy Cancer talk about how she prepares her bags to make juice every day? Have you ever heard her?
No, I haven't.
This is really interesting because you guys should check out her documentary, Crazy Sexy Cancer, if you haven't, or she has tons of books, Crazy Sexy Kitchen. Yeah, but I've heard her on different podcasts and things talk about the busy lifestyles we all lead, whether you're a mom, whether you're single, whether you're in a career, whether you're, taking care of a husband or a household or whatever. We don't have time in the kitchen anymore. And it's like kind of this lost sacred art.
Yeah.
But she talks about as far as juicing for the busy person, she and I think it's her husband, go to the farmer's market and get obviously as much organic, fresh produce as they can. And then for the whole week, they come up with these little like juice bags where they'll cut up the different fruits and vegetables. They'll put them into little Ziploc bags, or I think actually they're earth-friendly bags or whatever, but they'll have them for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all cut up and ready to go, washed up, cleaned up, dried up. So all they have to do that day is bust out that bag. So basically they spend one day, probably a couple hours, chopping and preparing, washing and getting ready, and then the rest of the week it's a no-brainer.
And that is a fantastic tip for anyone who leads a busy life and says, I don't have time.
You're not going to the store every day. You have it. You're not having to go open the fridge and go, okay, there's all these bags. And I have not followed that advice, but that's something I want to incorporate into my lifestyle, because imagine how much, I do open the fridge every day and I'm like, where's the lettuce? Where's the celery? What's in this bag? I'm digging through the refrigerator, not knowing what the heck I have in there. And then you know what? Half of it goes bad. So there's no waste in the way that she does it. You're not only prepared, you're not wasting. Yeah. And it just seems like I really resonated with that. That's something I really want to start doing.
Yeah, I think that's a really great tactic, definitely.
I do.
Or juicing hack, as I say.
You and all is that a Kiwi expression?
One thing I actually want to say that I kind of forgot to mention about the juicing cleanse that I went on is that I broke out in eczema really badly.
Oh, right.
All over my face.
Would you call yourself snake face?
Yeah, I basically shedded like a snake.
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
Yeah, and that lasted for 10 days.
Wow.
Like it didn't just clear up that quickly. And I freaked out a bit because I was like, I've had problems with eczema for quite a while, and it comes and it goes, and I know when I'm more stressed out, it's worse. And I haven't completely healed my digestive system because I've still got it a bit. It's going, and it's a lot better than what it ever used to be. But yeah, when I did the cleanse, I completely broke out, and I also was doing a lot of filming, which you guys will probably see or have seen. And that for me was really hard. That was a real big thing for me to be on camera, not ever having been in front of the camera and always being behind it, You know, my confidence levels were too high.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. And then also, like, I'm like, what is this? Should this be good? Like, you know, should I be breaking out like this? Should it be lasting this long? You know, for 10 days, you know, I had that. And I was using like neem oil. I did a couple of infrared sauna sessions because that's really meant to help your eczema. But I was really lucky because I had quite a few friends around me who had done long juice cleanses as well. And they were like, no, it's totally normal. Just let it ride out.
Run its course.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, come day 15, my skin was perfect again. So, you know, sometimes you just have to really persist because I think it's easy for a lot of people when they do something like even a short day, you know, like 5-day cleanse or 3-day cleanse after the first or second day to give up and go, oh, it's too hard.
We've had guests on our Extreme Health Radio show talk about how, in their opinion, certain doctors and things, how it's not worth it if you don't do a 21 or over. It's just why waste your time. I disagree with that.
Yeah, me
personally.
too.
There's a book by Sandra Cabot, I believe, called The Juicing Bible.
Oh, yes, I've got
that. Yeah,
I
read it when I first started juicing. And let me tell you, she talks about a 1, a 3, and a 5 day. And to me, anything's better than nothing.
Yeah, any kind of cleansing.
Even if you call your cleansing a juice a day and you're adding in 2 other meals and you're just cutting out 1, you know, anything's worth it.
Yeah.
Anything. And I just want to encourage everybody not to buy into the lie that it's not enough or that it doesn't make a difference if you're not doing it for X amount of days.
Exactly. Because, you know, I am living proof you have way more energy than you ever have.
Absolutely.
You know, you don't get hungry. I mean, and you just have a juice.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not that hard to do that, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, after about, I don't know, for me, like when I got to day 10, I was just like, well, because I was working quite a lot, to actually just go and get a juice was a lot easier.
Right.
And even if I just made the first one at home in the morning, I was spending an hour.
Right.
You know, or however long it was. But, you know, I'd spend a lot longer making food.
Right.
So, and it became quite a ritual as well.
Yeah.
Like, it was quite a nice way to ease me into the morning, making this juice, putting all my intention in it, you know?
And I know you do in your videos and things about adding a little sprinkle of intention.
Yeah.
A little sprinkle of intention goes a long way, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, what's it, is it Dr. Emoto?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, his experiment with the water.
Right.
You know, when he had he had an experiment where he said positive words like love and gratitude to water, and then he froze it.
Right.
And the crystals were beautiful.
Right.
And then he had another glass where he said very negative words to, and he froze those crystals, and they're ugly.
Right.
They just didn't form.
And he really zoomed in. I forget the name of the process where he zoomed in to look at the actual crystals of the water through.
They were like snowflakes.
An amazing magnifying glass.
Exactly.
Right. Carolyn Photography, I believe it is.
I think that sounds about right. Yeah.
Right. You're absolutely right, though. So when the intention of making, like you talk about, so when you're juicing, are you thinking like, what are you thinking? Are like your lovely vegetables, or are you more like, this is what this is going to do for my body is good?
Yeah. I'm sometimes thinking about, this is such a great way to start my day. And I am so grateful to be able to juice these vegetables, you know, and the quality that they are and just everything. They're so green and they're so good for me. And then I'm thinking about how they're going to be going into my system like little superheroes.
Sure.
Fighting whatever
Pac-Man.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and like I always, before I even take that first sip, like I'll clean up my juicer and that so it's easier, because that's always easy when you soak things. Or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. And I'll look at my juice and I'll be like, this is going to be the best juice ever.
Oh, I love it.
You know,
and
every time.
isn't it?
Yeah, and every time it is. You know, and I just think that it's just such a great way to kick off your day. So.
I do the sort of thing too now when I am about to enjoy my juice after I make it. You know how people, you know, obviously say grace or blessing before they eat food?
Yeah.
Well, I know Justin and I always talk about like, oh, I'm so grateful for this vegetable giving its life for me.
Yeah.
Because you think about an animal, but when you know, something had to die in order for us to gain its benefits.
Yeah.
And I kind of give a grace for my juice. Thank you, celery, for being pulled out of the ground. Thank you, carrot, something had to give up something for us to gain the value from it.
Yeah.
And that's that's an intention of just being grateful to the food and the way it was grown, and all, you know, the people whose hands planted the seeds. I mean, you could take it to such a deep level of just being grateful, and you don't have to get all crazy and just sit there and meditate on your juice for an hour.
No.
I mean, there's nothing like that, but just a little
It's
bit
just
of
a thought.
appreciation
Exactly.
about where it came from.
And it also makes you realize, what you're putting into your body.
Absolutely.
It makes you more conscious of that.
Absolutely.
That you're drinking. And I always like to drink mine through a straw.
Yes, I know. And you're really good about that.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the reasons for that too is so I drink slower. And I just like it.
Yeah. Calms you the heck down. Makes you take your time a little bit more.
I don't know if I'm a calm person or not, but
well, I always know we used to joke too. There was a time when my friends and I were really into coffee, and every single second we had, we'd be at a Starbucks or something, and we'd put the straw into our hot coffees, or whipped whatever it was, whether it was cold or hot, because it didn't ruin your lipstick.
Well, that's a good tip. That's a good tip.
So ladies that wear lipstick, if you want to drink your juice at work and not ruin your makeup, just throw a straw in it.
Yeah. That's a really good tip.
Yeah, because you're not getting your lips all over the, whatever you're not wasting your lipstick on the cup.
And like you were saying, juices are quite readily available everywhere now.
Yeah.
So, when I was having my juicing cleanse that week, my friends would be like, oh, do you want to go for dinner? And I'd be like, I had so much to do that I didn't actually have time to sit with them for 2 or 3 hours and have dinner. I was like, well, why don't I meet you before or after for like a drink?
Sure.
Sure. And most bars have herbal teas.
Right.
Or they'll have some kind of, I don't know if they had a green juice bonus, because then I'd be extra happy. But, there are other ways to get around that and still be social.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of people can't get their head around. They're like, well, if I do a cleanse, I have to be home for the whole 3 days.
Right.
And it's like, well, it's good to be busy, actually, because it takes your mind off a lot of other things that
I do too.
You might be doing. Yeah.
And what's funny too? I just realized what a good point is that if you're not going to be around people who are supporting you, like, cause I remember during my, some people would kind of roll their eyes and be like, well, I don't want to go out then if you're not going to drink with me, or I don't want to go out if you're not going to eat. People aren't okay with being in their own space and letting you be in yours.
True.
So I kind of had to kick a few people to the curb in a matter of words, because if they're not going to, shouldn't it be about getting together and sharing words and time in your heart?
Yeah.
Rather than, oh, I don't want to be with you because you're not going to have a drink with me.
Yeah.
Then there's something a little bit wrong there. You might want to reassess who you're hanging out with. And unfortunately, you might have to kind of crowd out some people in your life that aren't going to be on board with your decision to just be with them, no matter if, that's fine if they want to eat and drink what they do.
Yeah.
But if I want to just have an herbal tea or a green juice with somebody, not have that glass of wine or not have that steak, whatever we choose to do for our bodies, let's not judge each other on what it is that was best for us.
We're still the same person and we still want to spend time with you. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, no, I totally resonate with that, because I've had to do that a few times as well.
Yeah.
I have changed my life a lot.
Yeah, me too.
For the better.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, you let go of the old and it makes room for the new.
I agree. And man, isn't juice just such a great thing to add into a new?
I
love it.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, and I forgot to mention one really important tip.
What's that?
Or thing about, when I did my cleanse, which I'm sure all the ladies would love to know. I lost a small wiener dog off me.
You lost a wiener dog off your body?
Yeah, when I did my juice cleanse.
So the size of Maggie Brown, Longbottom, my dog, basically came off your body.
Yeah.
What is that, 10 pounds?
Yeah, I lost
11?
about 8 kilos, I think.
Wow.
I don't know what it is in pounds, but yeah.
So you're measuring by wiener dogs instead of pounds?
Yeah.
You lost one small wiener dog.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the first, obviously over 21-day period, but was it the first 5 or 10 that you saw the most weight kind of shed off you?
I don't know, because I was too focused on my face at that point to worry about what my body was doing.
Bless you. Bless your heart.
Yeah. And I was too busy. I was meant to do it, I had it all planned out that I was going to do all these video iPad entries, and I'd talk about my, my day and how I was feeling. Sure. I ended up doing 4.
Oh.
Over 21 days.
Oh.
That's how busy
I get it, though. I totally get it.
It was just, I mean, I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong. I got so much done.
Sure.
And I, discovered so much about myself as well. And I was also doing, intense yoga classes, and I was doing all this other stuff while I was out and about all the time. So, I wasn't sitting at home twiddling my thumbs, that's for sure.
Wow. I think some people think a negative connotation when they think fasting.
Yeah.
They think they're not going to be doing anything but sitting around twiddling their thumbs.
No.
Focused on how they want to eat.
Yeah.
But you're right. If you're filling up your day with positive things that are almost like spurring on. You probably could
definitely.
have gone way beyond 21 days and been fine.
I actually wanted to, but then I was going, I was packing to leave.
Girl, Kate and Justin ruined my
No, but I wanted to, but the people who I was living with as well, they're a raw food family, and I wanted them to show me a few recipes from that side of things, of what they do, and I want to experience that with them. So, I kind of started slowly eating food again, and I wanted to share a few meals with a couple of friends before I left. And,
Sure.
It just felt right. It wasn't, the 21 days was a great goal, and I think around day 8, that number came into my head, that I was like, I'm going to push for that. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it's not a big deal. 10's pretty good.
10's pretty darn good.
Yeah. But just kept going, and it was really easy. And, on day 21, I actually had the intention to eat. I'd bought on the Monday, I think I finished it on a Friday. I bought like 2 mangoes, like really amazing mangoes. And I was looking forward to eating them on the Friday that I'd finished. Or was it Saturday? It was one of those in the morning. But I was so bogged down with work and clients and everything that I was doing. I didn't actually get to eat until 5 in the evening.
Seriously?
Yeah, I had a green juice in the morning. I had a herbal tea for lunch.
Wow.
And I just had this mango, half a mango.
Wow.
Because I didn't actually have a spoon or anything with me or a knife. I was like walking on the road. I was in the middle of the footpath, and I was like, I've just got to eat this because I'm craving food, and I need to break my fast.
Wow.
And this mango is amazing.
How'd you get into it? Did you peel
my
it?
Hands. I just kind of peeled the top and bit it like an apple.
You are my hero, Boang. That is amazing.
I think I would have looked amazing doing that.
You would have looked like a monkey walking down a trail. Down a sidewalk.
A little bit.
Oh, who cares?
Who
cares?
Whatever.
Out the window.
Yeah, that girl is really enjoying half that mango.
You know what? And that probably made someone's day. Like I was walking down the sidewalk, and there was this girl
eating a mango,
like
apple.
Juice dripping down. Talk about juicy, getting juicy, dripping down your face.
But that was another thing as well. As the days went on with the juicing, because this is another question I get asked, is how many juices did you have a day?
Oh, good question.
And I would have maybe, I think towards the end, I was probably only having like 3 or 4, and I was drinking water, because a lot of people forget to do that. They're like, I just need to drink juice. It's like, no, you need to drink water as well.
That's a great point.
So it was probably about 3 juices.
Wow.
So for me, that was just like, whoa. So it made me really assess food.
Right.
And
probably hydration.
It
probably made you realize how much water we don't drink that we should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you'd have to say that was an overall positive experience, and I've had nothing but positive experiences.
Yeah.
So if anybody walks away with anything from this, it's just to be open to new experiences and, add that green juice in. And we can't guarantee you'll love it the first time, but we're just, you'll start to see the benefits. The more you plug into healing yourself and caring and taking care of yourself. We'd love emails from you guys writing in or, comments below this podcast of
your
what you've
juicing
seen, your
experience.
juicing journey.
Yeah, definitely. And if, after a juice cleanse, if you were glowing like a green goddess.
Oh, glowing like a green goddess.
I know, do you like that?
That's beautiful. That's juicy. That's juicy, Bo.
Thanks.
Well, thanks, guys, for listening and hanging out with us. And check out everything we got going on at empoweredwomenschannel.com.
There's so much fun stuff going on there.
And it's just beginning.
And I'm sure there's a few really good juice recipes we've got on there as well.
Oh, I'm sure there is. And keep checking them out. As time goes on, we will be posting more recipes, more juices. And just try them out and let us know what you think.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for hanging out, you guys.
Bye.
Bye. With grateful hearts, we thank you for joining this session of our Empowered Women's Channel podcast. We wish you an inspired day ahead wherever you are in the world. Remember to sign up for our newsletter at empoweredwomenschannel.com/subscribe. Instantly receive our fabulous free gift to you that you gals don't want to miss out on. So, Bo, what is the difference between
Blah. Blah. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
What in the world? Wow.
I've had too much bananas and hemp seed with almond butter today.
We are not held responsible, liable in any way, shape, or form for extreme transformation or empowerment in your lives upon participating in the Empowered Women's Network. Random acts of kindness and spontaneous desire to make the world a better place is completely your own doing. Feelings of wanting to throw around pixie dust and free the unicorns have been reported, and we cannot take credit in any way, shape, or form for this unpredictable outburst, either now or in the future days ahead. Sporting a random fake beard and wanting to take selfies in random places while sporting it are completely your own doing. The laughter that follows doing that very act is contagious, so watch out. The shift that may take place from pessimism to a glass very overflowing has been reported, as well as sudden desires to bust into radical dance moves and singing at the top of your lungs. Said an overwhelming need to greet others in public places such as railway systems and crosswalks with giant smiles and compliments are encouraged, as well as appreciated. The future effects of kindness and other such behavior towards strangers might possibly not be seen or even known in this lifetime, although the magical effects they have on others' lives is astounding. Only love at your own risk and in your own way, shape, or form, regardless of what others may think or judge. Be advised and know that you and you alone are solely, completely, unequivocally, 111% responsible for being a world changer. No excuses or late notes from mom and dad will be tolerated at this point in time. No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent any disease or condition. While information in this blog is discussed in the context of numerous conditions, it can be dangerous to take action based on any information in this blog or to start any health program without first consulting a health professional. The content found here is for informational purposes only and is in no way intended as medical advice, as a substitute for medical counseling, or as a treatment/cure for any disease or health condition, and nor should it be continued as such. Always work with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, prescription drug use, lifestyle, or exercise activities. This information is provided as is, and the reader/viewer assumes all risks from the use, non-use, or misuse of this information.